Since 1978, Maryland's Catering has been a culinary gem of Southwest Louisiana. And for well over 30 years, outdoor writer Rusty Doughty and Chef Jacques Broussard have worked hand in hand, solidifying their legacy. Not only developing exquisite Louisiana cuisine, but also perfecting simple, understated Cajun dishes South Louisiana is so well known for. Join Rusty, his family, and friends as they venture from their Louisiana coastal home to seek outdoor adventures. Then pair with Chef Jacques to pursue culinary delights on Jacques and Rusty's Wild Kitchen.
My whole life I've been surrounded by water. Faith, family, great food, fun, music, fishing, the outdoors. I absolutely love Louisiana's culture, and I couldn't imagine building a life anywhere else.
Falling, but he's not, he won't commit. Yeah, pop. Oh, you've got to be.
You hate it. For well over a decade, Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries Get Out and Fish program has stocked non-native rainbow trout in lakes throughout the state. On this inaugural video of Jacques and Rusty's Wild Kitchen, we step out of our comfort zone to experiment infusing Cajun culinary mentality with an old world Northern European stuffed trout dish. We're excited to pair this video with Lagniappe magazine as a follow-up to a story I wrote for them about the adventures of pursuing Louisiana's rarest game fish. Hi, I'm Rusty Doughty, and this is Chef Jacques Broussard, and welcome to Jacques and Rusty's Wild Kitchen. This episode, we're going to take a Louisiana stocked rainbow trout, part of the Wildlife and Fisheries Get Out and Fish program. In conjunction with the article that I'd written for Lagniappe magazine, we're going to show you how to debone this trout, stuff it, and cook it. Now, one of the best things about rainbow trout are they're known for being a non-fishy tasting fish. So they're the fish for people that don't really like fish. But years ago, I had a conversation with a young man who was in culinary school, and he was telling me about how they had to learn how to debone them. And they usually traditionally stuff them with carrots or potatoes or basil or something along those lines. And we wanted to do something a little different with this. And we're going to try to stuff it with lump white crab meat, more in a Louisiana style, and season it more with Louisiana style seasonings. As you can see, I've already cleaned the fish. I went ahead and gutted him. I removed the gills, opened him up, and I also scaled him. You don't have to scale rainbow trout, but what you usually do is you just take your fillet knife and you move it like this, and you can get some little stuff off. We'll clean him up a little bit here, and then we'll rinse him off before we get ready to cook him. I was hoping to catch a speckled trout and be able to do that in this one alongside each other. However, like I said, we ended up with a once a century, twice a century blizzard last week, so I don't know that anybody's going to be catching any local specks anytime soon. I'm using just a regular fillet knife. This is a Rapala, I don't know, they're about as cheap as they come. Before we can remove all these little bones, we need to cut along the spine. So just think of how you would traditionally fillet a fish. You don't want to go all the way through, but you're doing it with the fish still remaining whole. See how we're cutting through all the little bones? Now, one thing I did notice is there's a bloodline that's a little different in this fish that runs along the bottom of the spine in the middle of the organ cavity here. And you know, I had to cut it out and wash it real well. Alright, so now we're through all those little bones. Just about. A little more. Alright. We're going to go all the way back to the dorsal fin. That's the one here on the top of the fish. Along the skeletal center. Now it's not huge. All these little bones actually sort of take the place of what you would normally see in a fish like this, where you'd have the top of the skeleton go all the way up to the top of the fish. And that doesn't seem to be the case as I'm kind of getting into this. There we go, it's definitely there. Go ahead and come a little farther back over here too. Just real easy cuts. This head really just like you're filleting a fish. Only difference is we're leaving the fish intact and we're leaving the skin on the outside. Looks almost like salmon. I guess trout are salmonoids, so. And even steelhead salmon, or I guess they're ocean-going rainbow trout. So now that we have this opened up, we have the whole center removed. We're going to come in here and we're going to start pulling these bones out. See, they kind of will flip up on you if you push on this just right. And you really have to just take them out of here one at a time. Really just pull on them. Again, look at how that does. You can just see them all the way along the way. I think before I start, I'm going to do just a little cut right here, just to kind of help me get started. I'll do the same thing on this side. Let's take some butter and we'll melt it and put a little garlic in there, and we'll just dip the crab meat in there, and then we'll stuff him in here. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to add just a little bit of garlic to this. That's not traditionally in a hollandaise sauce, but it'll work. Now, Anthony Bourdain says that you don't deserve to use garlic unless you press it yourself. I don't know. This is a functional kitchen, so we use a little minced garlic. Well, you don't want to get this too hot, mainly because if you try to cook garlic, any garlic, on too hot of a flame, it gets bitter in a hurry. So if you've ever tried to do anything and said, oh, that's bad, or that's this, or that's that, like I said, usually it may be just on too hot of a flame. We also don't want the butter to clarify, at least not yet anyway. And that's going to be good. It's going to give that crab meat just a little more depth on the inside. I think that crab meat by itself would probably be just fine. However, I don't know. It just seems like a good idea. We're not cooking it. It's already cooked. It got picked. It is picking up a brown color from the butter, so it's starting to brown. That's going to be perfect right there. Okay, this is what we're going to use to stuff the fish. Alright, so before we put that in the fish, we want to go in and season the inside of it, not so much seasoning the crab meat. Now we're going to take this crab meat, we're going to put it right here. I'm just going to, I think that maybe what'll work the best is if I just line it up in the middle. So whenever I get ready to fold it back around, it's hot, but it's not unhandleably hot. I don't know if that's really a great word. Now you could stuff this with a crab cake mix, you could stuff it with shrimp. I mean, you could stuff it traditionally, like I said, with some form of basil or some form of potato or carrot or something like that. We just want to do something a little different. Put a Louisiana spin on what's going on. Now we're going to take this guy, we're going to fold him over, and you can stitch him up, or we're just going to use, kind of busting at the seams here. I'm going to remove a little bit of this. We'll cook that on the side and snack on it. We're just going to use toothpicks. Kind of a long fish for the skillet. Now I will say this, the skin was much tougher than I anticipated. I really didn't think it would be that toothpicks through, but we got them through and it was fine. I just had to be a little patient with it. I think maybe the reason that there is thick-skinned as they are is because they do have such small scales, so maybe that skin has to carry the load of what's going on. We're going to go ahead and finish this guy up here and brown him off on both sides. Alright, so he was really hard to not tear up. It was, you know, they do this, that's what they say to do, the serum. I probably would just go straight into the oven now that I've done it and looking at it. But that being said, we're going to slip him in the oven just like this. You know, you could really use, like I said, we were talking about maybe using a crab cake stuffing more like a flounder. I think that would probably turn out really, really nicely. So we're going into the oven. And we're at 350 degrees. And I'm gonna say, Alexa, set timer for 12 minutes. While we're waiting for the fish to cook, we're going to start a hollandaise sauce. This is going to be a half a stick of butter. Alright, so we're separating an egg. We're going to press a lemon to get about a tablespoon of lemon juice, fresh lemon juice. Using just the egg yolk, and we're going to use 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt and 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper. That's half of that, yeah. And then 1 tablespoon of water. Does the butter cook the egg, I guess? So the last time Jacques and I did this, we were doing it for hundreds of people. In the pot.
Stirring constantly.
Okay. So we were doing it for hundreds of people, and we took the egg yolks and we put them in a blender, and then by adding the hot butter, it ends up cooking the hollandaise sauce. As you see, this will turn around and it'll thicken very quickly. And for this, you don't need much. Right about there. Voila. All right, 12 minutes was a pretty good guess. It's at exactly 145 degrees. It looks handsome, and we're going to move this thing over and try to not to tear it up. All right, what was your take on this? They don't stay together real well. I definitely wouldn't pan fry it before I went in the oven with it. I'd probably stuff it with an actual stuffing, more like what you would do something with a flounder with.
What we would typically do is crab cake.
Yeah,
mix.
crab cake. You could even add shrimp
Something
to
that's
it or
gonna
something like that.
Hold together better.
Yeah, and then that would grow with it. You know, we all know what that looks like when you bake it. I like the hollandaise on it. I think it's going to taste great. I don't have an issue with that. It has a bigger amount of space than I thought it would. Like, I mean, it took way more crab meat. I was thinking I'd have more left to put on top, and it you know, it's not a small rainbow trout, but it's not a huge one either. I don't know, just to do something novel and fun and different. You know, I think it's going to taste great. We'll get into it here in a little bit, but if I were to do this again, deboning it was no big deal. It took a little while, it took a little patience, but really, I know we time-lapsed it, what, 4 minutes? 6 minutes tops. I wouldn't do it to 10 different fish. It'd take an hour and a half because you'd lose concentration. But other than that, like I said, I think I would stuff it a little differently because it has a bigger cavity once you remove the bones and everything else than I was anticipating. But other than that, it should be good. Now, I will say this, like, even though it wouldn't stay together and we were having a hard time moving it around, the skin was a lot thicker than I thought it would be. I thought I'd be able to just, you know, from looking at and reading, you know, I thought I'd be able to just poke through with toothpicks, and that really wasn't the case. So if you do want to do one, I would probably recommend sewing it, you know, with kitchen twine, you know, so, or you can do Louisiana style and use crab twine. All right, we're gonna get into this fish. We're gonna see what he tastes like. Thank y'all for taking the time to watch this, and this is Jacques and Rusty's Wild Kitchen.